Daniel Defoe, Robinson Crusoe, Part 147. He said, "No, they make brother with them. That is, as I understood him, a truce." And then he added, "They know it means, but when make the war fight, that is to say, they never eat any man but such as come to fight with them and are taken in battle." It was after this some considerable time that, being upon the top of the hill at the east side of the island, from whence, as I have said, I had in a clear day discovered the main or continent of America, Friday, the weather being very serene, looks very earnestly towards the mainland, and in a kind of surprise falls a jumping and dancing, and calls out to me, for I was at some distance from him. I asked him what was the matter. "Oh, joy," says he, "oh, glad, there see my country, there my nation." I observed an extraordinary sense of pleasure appeared in his face, and his eyes sparkled, and his countenance discovered a strange eagerness, as if he had a mind to be in his own country again. This observation of mine put a great many thoughts into me, which made me at first not so easy about my new man Friday as I was before, and I made no doubt but that if Friday could get back to his own nation again, he would not only forget all his religion, but all his obligation to me, and would be forward enough to give his countrymen an account of me, and come back perhaps with 100 or two of them, and make a fast upon me, at which he might be as merry as he used to be with those of his enemies when they were taken in war. But I wronged the poor honest creature very much, for which I was very sorry afterwards. However, as my jealousy increased and held some weeks, I was a little more circumspect, and not so familiar and kind to him as before, in which I was certainly wrong too. The honest, grateful creature, having no thought about it but what consisted with the best principles, both as a religious Christian and as a grateful friend, as appeared afterwards to my full satisfaction. While my jealousy of him lasted, you may be sure I was every day pumping him to see if he would discover any of the new thoughts which I suspected were in him. But I found everything he said was so honest and so innocent that I could find nothing to nourish my suspicion, and in spite of all my uneasiness, he made me at last entirely his own again. Nor did he in the least perceive that I was uneasy, and therefore I couldn't suspect him or deceit. One day, walking up the same hill, but the weather being hazy at sea, so that we could not see the continent, I called to him and said, "Friday, do not you wish yourself in your own country, your own nation?" "Yes," he said, "I be much glad to be at my own nation." "What would you do there?" said I. "Would you turn wild again, eat man's flesh again, and be as savage as you were before?" He looked full of concern, and shaking his head said, "No, no, Friday. Tell them to live good. Tell them to pray God. Tell them to eat cornbread, cattle flesh, milk, no eat man again." "Why then," said I to him, "they will kill you." He looked grave at that and then said, "No, they no kill me. They will in love learn." He meant by this they would be willing to learn. He added they learned much of the bearded man's that came in the boat. Then I asked him if he would go back home, back to them. He smiled at it and told me that he could not swim so far. I told him I would make a canoe for him.